What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're going to be going over the Springfield Hellcat 9mm concealed carry pistol. This thing holds 13 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber, which makes it one of my favorite pistols to carry every single day. Today we're going to be going over how to take it apart, put it back together, and the quick oil points on this gun. Let's get right into it. Alright, so let's just jump right into it. We got the Hellcat right here. First thing you want to do, as always, before handling your weapon is make sure the weapon is clear. Eject the magazine by pressing the mag release. Then make sure you check that chamber to make sure there's nothing in the weapon. Pull the trigger to release the slide. Once that fun part is done, we're going to get right into the disassembling of the Springfield Hellcat. This one's a little bit different. You're going to want to make sure you pull the slide all the way back and press this here. This, when you press it up, falls into that slot, and that is your slide lock. Push it all the way back and you push up with your thumb. That'll hold your slide completely back. Next thing you want to do is take this lever and push it upward until it slides into that position. That releases your slide completely. It's going to be difficult to do if this is a newer gun. You do have to break this in, that I've noticed with this weapon, but once it's broken in, it's fairly simple to do. Put it in the lock position and push it up. Release the slide. The trigger will now be engaged, so you're going to have to pull the trigger to release the slide. Slide or release and come right off. The next part, you got to get the spring off. To get the spring off, pushing from the chamber, the small part of this spring here, you're just going to want to depress the spring and lift it up. That'll fall right out. And then press up on your barrel right there and slide your barrel out. That's simple. Now that the weapon's completely disassembled, we're going to go over some key oiling points with the Springfield Hellcat. This applies to a lot of the pistols and firearms that you're going to be using. Pretty much anything that's metal on metal or anything that has a lot of motion within the gun is something that's going to want to have oil on it. So we're going to focus on these rails here. We're going to focus on the barrel. You can see some wear on that barrel already. We're going to focus in this groove here. And then of course on the slide itself, where you can see any metal showing, where you can see that there's anything that's been rubbed on there. And of course inside this rail as well, you're going to want to put oil on those points. As anyone will tell you, all oils are pretty much the same. I like to use Hops. Number 9 works well for everything. They have a great cleaning product, and the lubricating oil. I used this in my last video for the Glock 17, so go check that out if you haven't yet. But today we're going to use the M Pro 7 gun oil. A lot of good reviews on this one. Like I said, all oils are pretty much the same. You can't go wrong. As long as you keep your gun wet, it's going to perform the way you want it to. So the first thing we're going to focus on here is going to be the slide itself. So for the slide, you're going to want to put a drop of oil into the rail system on both sides. And on the other. Just 1 drop is all you need. You do not need a lot of oil. And then I like to put a drop right here as well. And since there's a lot of rubbing that you can see going on in here, you can see that the color is wearing away, the shiny metal there. That's where the barrel is going in and out. Every time the slide goes back to chamber a new round, your barrel is scraping in here. So you want to make sure there's a little bit of oil in there as well. So I'm just going to take 1 drop, and I'm not even squeezing the bottle. I'm simply letting 1 drop fall off onto that point. Now at this point you can use your finger, you can use a toothbrush, whatever you have handy, and just rub this oil in. Rub it all over in there on this rail, and then in these rails here. If you're in these rails here, you can use a piece of cotton to really make sure you get into those rails. Take your swab, fold it in half, and simply run it back and forth in those rails. You're also going to be putting lube on the rails of the gun itself, so you do not need too much oil on here. 1 dot is all you need. Go ahead and rub this in. You can rub that in too a little bit. And now I like to take a microfiber towel and go ahead and wipe all that oil off. I did not clean this gun this time. I only put maybe 2 or 3 boxes of ammo through it, so it doesn't quite need a cleaning yet, contrary to the black that's showing up on it. But I didn't really warrant it to need a full cleaning today, and this will keep the video a little bit shorter for you guys. If you do want to see a video on this, on how to actually clean and what nook and crannies to get into, leave me a comment down below, and we can get into that as well. Now that that's oiled, you're going to want to focus on the barrel. For the barrel, 1 dot on the barrel itself is all you need. Just take your finger and rub that into the barrel all the way around. And again, this is a good example of where you can see on the barrel itself how there's these wear marks on it. Anything you see that has a wear mark like that means it's touching other metal and functioning the way the gun is supposed to, but you want to make sure you have oil on that so it's as frictionless as possible. You also want to put 1 dab inside of this channel here. So I'm going to put 1 dot into there. Get another square. And just rub that in. I like to put some oil on the spring as well. Some people don't. It's just your own preference. You can already see, actually, before I put the oil on, that there already is a decent amount of oil on this. Add a little bit to there. Spring is also a moving part, so we want to make sure that everything's moving and everything that's going to rub up against one another is going to be well oiled and have everything that it needs to function properly when you're going to need it the most. I like to rub off the extra oil because if not, it's going to gunk up. You're going to get extra debris in there that you don't need, and rubbing it off isn't actually getting rid of the oil, it's just getting rid of the excess. As you can see, there's still a fair amount of oil on there, and that's all you need. Next, we're going to go to the lower receiver part, and as I said, we're going to want to do the rails, and back here as well. That's where your gun slides on. So just 1 drop, that's all it takes. We do not need to oil this weapon excessively. This, you can just use your finger, rub it into all those nooks and crannies, and wherever you see wear. Right here is where the bullet goes into the barrel itself. You can see that little bit of a wear mark right there. So we're going to put a little bit of oil right there. Just a drop, that's all it takes. We're going to rub most of this off anyway. To reassemble your Hellcat is very simple. Take your slide facing up, and then you're going to want to take your barrel with these notches facing up, slide it right in, push it back, drop right into place. Take your spring with the fatter end towards the muzzle, insert it, apply a little bit of pressure to the spring until it pops right into place. Move it back and forth a little bit to make sure it is centered. That's how it should look when it's sitting on the barrel. Centered and seated nicely. Last stage is going to attach your slide to the body of the gun. You can see these rails here, the indentations, and then the rails that we cleaned prior, those are all going to line up. Now when you do this, you need to make sure you pull the slide all the way back. It'll slide on easy enough, but you're going to need to pull it all the way back and lock that slide into place by pushing up on the slide lock. With it locked in place, you can flip this switch down, locking your slide in where it's supposed to be, and simply pull down on the slide release. Pull the trigger, and everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. And there you have it, how to disassemble, reassemble, and the oil points for your new Springfield Hellcat. Let me know in the comments below, have you picked up one of these yet? And if not, I highly recommend you do. In my next video, I'm going to be going over the Hellcat versus the Glock 43 and the Smith & Wesson Shield. I'm excited to go over all 3 of them with you guys. Make sure you tune in for the next one. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, stay safe.